All right, guys. So today we're going to take a look at Final Audio's new true wireless earbuds that's kind of geared towards gaming. And the pair that we're going to check out is the new VR3000 wireless. Now, Final Audio has already had the VR3000 IEMs, and they basically wanted to make a wireless version of this. And if you're familiar with trying to use wireless earbuds for gaming or watching movies and things like that, it normally does not work out because of lag. It's kind of hard to get around this. So with the VR3000 wireless, they've actually included a USB-C dongle. The only problem is in the case, there's nowhere to house this. So you're gonna have to keep up with this separately or just leave it in your device that you're normally gonna use. But if you're somebody like me, I like to use many different products. So I'm gonna use it on my Steam Deck. I can use it on my phone. I can use it on my PC. I can use it on my tablet. So I would have liked to have had somewhere in the case to be able to house these. Now, from a price standpoint, the Final Audio VR3000 wireless is actually priced pretty well. Final Audio is one of those higher end audio companies. They have some pretty expensive headphones and some IEMs, but when it comes to their true wireless earbuds, they've actually been pretty competitive. Now these come in at $129. Now with this pair, you have both the ability to use them wireless with Bluetooth, or you can use them with the dongle. And there is actually two different experiences depending on how you use these. Now these do work with Final Audio's app. This allows you to keep the earbuds updated. And outside of that, there's really not a whole lot you can do, but there is a 10-band equalizer, so you can go in and just fine-tune the sound the way that you want. And then outside of that, this pair also has hybrid active noise canceling. So within the app, you have the ability to switch between the noise canceling off, or the ambient mode that these have. Now, when it comes to the noise canceling, the first thing I want to point out is this pair is not trying to compete with all of the higher end noise canceling earbuds. It's not trying to block out absolutely everything around you. Because it's gaming focused, it's actually focused on trying to block out fan noises like your PC or your handheld gaming device. A lot of those fans you can normally hear while you're gaming. So this one's doing a pretty good job of blocking out lower tones like that. So if you have an AC unit, or if you are traveling and you want to block out engine noises, it does a really good job here. It's just when it comes to higher tones, this pair's just not really good at blocking that out. From a design standpoint, the case is very generic looking. It does have 4 dots on the front that will show you how much battery life is left on the case. The earbuds are a stem style design, which again, I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of. But they're pretty bland looking. There's nothing flashy about these. There's no RGB lighting like there is on the Soundcore VRP10, which I think is a pretty good competitor for these. But this pair just doesn't have that flashy gamer look to it. So I think a lot of people are going to appreciate that. Again, from a design standpoint, this is about as bland as it gets. Now, another thing is they are using a custom 10mm driver that they call the F-Core VR. This is to give you a similar experience to what the VR3000 wired IEM version has. And again, it's heavily focused on giving you more of a gamer experience, but we'll talk about that once we get to the sound. Now, if you are going to use these outdoors, they do come in with an IPX5 rating, so that'll be fine against rain and sweat and light splashes and things like that, but you're definitely going to want to make sure not to drop these into water. Now, as far as what all they've included in the box, it does come with 5 sets of silicone ear tips. This is basically, I think, what they call their E-class ear tips. So these are actually really nice, but when it comes to the charging cable, which is what you'll need to charge these, they do not have a charging cable in the box, like at all. It just comes with the ear tips, the case, and the dongle and the earbuds, and that's it. So you will have to use your own USB-C cable to charge these. And speaking of the charging, battery life is actually really impressive on this pair. Now, if you decide to use these with the noise canceling off, you can get 11 hours on the earbuds themselves and about 38 hours using the case. And even with using these with the noise canceling on, you're still going to get 8 hours on the earbuds and about 28 hours using the case. So again, I feel like that's pretty impressive. It's going to get anybody pretty much through a work day and also a very long gaming session. You're not going to feel like you're going to have to stop in the middle of what you're doing to actually charge these. Now, there is no high-end Bluetooth codecs here, so it's not one of those like if you switch over to using LDAC mode where it's going to drain the battery life a little bit more. But I didn't find that there was any compression in my audio. I didn't feel like it was suffering because it didn't have the higher-end Bluetooth codecs. But it still does kind of suck that a higher-end audio company like Final does not have higher-end Bluetooth codecs on these. So now if you're going to use these for taking phone calls, I really like the fact that they are using dual MEMS microphones. These sound absolutely incredible. They are also using noise reduction. So if you are going to use these in like a noisier environment, it's going to do a lot to actually try to block out a lot of your surroundings. But you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. So here is a mic test using the Final earbuds outdoors. It's definitely noisy over to the right of me, so I don't know if it's picking up any of this, but this is really just to give you an idea of what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's move over to talking about the sound of these. Now, there is basically two different experiences in this pair, in the fact that once you use them with Bluetooth, it has its own sound signature, and it's completely different, in my opinion, than when you're using them with the USB-C dongle. And the reason I say this is when you have them in Bluetooth mode, you have the ability to go within the app and try to tune these. You can mess around with that 10-band EQ, and it actually does respond pretty well to EQing. So I feel like there's a lot of flexibility here. But with the USB-C dongle, I feel like a lot of things change. I feel like it's stuck in a certain sound signature that you cannot change. And I also feel like the volume takes quite a bit of a hit depending on what device you're using. So when I use the USB-C connection on my phone, it doesn't get anywhere near as loud as it does in Bluetooth using it on my phone. So do keep that in mind. But the audio experience itself, if you're going to use these just in Bluetooth mode, this is a fantastic sounding pair of just Bluetooth true wireless earbuds. A lot of punch in the low end, a lot of details in the mids, so there's really good representation of vocals, and the treble has a lot of detail and can actually get pretty bright. If you tune it that way, there's just, again, I feel like there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to Bluetooth audio. Now, using these with the USB-C dongle, that's where things start to change a little bit. You can tell that they're not trying to overemphasize the bass as much. They're not trying to vamp up the treble as much. There is a lot of focus in the mid-range, so dialogue and subtle things like footsteps, things like that, you can just hear that a lot better. I just feel like there's more of a natural tone, and maybe it's the warmth of the low end, again, without being overemphasized, that's causing this. Now, when it comes to the sound stage and the sound imaging, I actually found these to sound a little bit more open in Bluetooth mode. That's kind of strange because with the USB-C dongle, you would kind of expect these to sound a little bit more open that way, or that have a little bit more focus there, but it doesn't. There is a little bit of a closed-in feel with the USB-C dongle. But again, the way that they sound for gaming, I think is excellent. I think it's a great pair for listening to music. So my overall opinion is this. If you're just looking at these as a normal pair of earbuds, you're going to feel like they're lacking when it comes to certain features. There's no Qi wireless charging. There's no smart sensors. The app on these are very lackluster. There's just nothing to make these really stand out. It's kind of a bare bones app. The noise canceling is not high tier noise canceling like Sony or Bose. But outside of that, this has been my go-to pair to use on my Steam Deck and also use on my PC. Because of the USB-C dongle, which they say gives you like 20 millisecond delay, that's pretty like spot on when it comes to what you would want to use these for different types of media. It also makes it a really good pair to use while editing my videos. And then again, moving over to gaming. So I feel like there's just a lot of flexibility here, but I do feel like if I'm out and about and this is a pair that I have and I want to listen to music, I don't feel like there's any drawback here. From a look standpoint, there's nothing flashy, there's nothing special here. It just looks like a generic pair of earbuds. But the most important thing is how it sounds. And when it comes to that, it does its job well as both a gaming earbud and also just an everyday use earbud for listening to music. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Final Audio VR3000 wireless earbuds. At $129, I can highly recommend them, especially for anybody that's looking for an earbud to just use for anything. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.